but it's caused great concern now that Scripps Clinic, Scripps Coastal, is no longer in the Medicare Advantage world, effective January 1st, 2024. So I'm just going back to the basics to explain the difference. And for a lot of people, it's starting to make sense. And many who have been on a Medicare Advantage temporary plan that's subsidized by the government now want a permanent Medicare supplement plan. More so than anything else. It's encouraging because a permanent Medicare supplement plan is going to solve your problem for years to come, and you won't be subject to the whims of the government.
And I think that's the best news ever. I mean, that's the best news, and that's why we're bringing it in this show, is like to tell people there is an option, and you have something that's just not going to change. I mean, because that's really what we want, is some stability, some change, not some, temporary. And I think, and we've talked about this before, some people are just like, well, that's okay. It's my Advantage plan. It's temporary, so it will change. But then the big question is, well, but what if you're right in the middle of something? I mean, you actually are using it to the full extent. You need the coverage. You've got your medical team that's done this diagnosis, and you're going through some crazy big treatment plan. And then all of a sudden it's like, sorry, you got to switch out of this one. Got to change your doctor.
Yeah. And Gary, I've had too many conversations like that with people that are exactly in that situation.
Wow.
And they've got 3 or 4 specialists. They have a primary. They're on some meds. And for them to think in the middle of all of this, they have to go find a different doctor. It's tragic. So, but there are options, and you really do need a broker, whether it's me or somebody else who specializes in it, to help navigate you through the maze. And it is a maze. Everybody has a different story, and I'll share one the next segment. But it's confusing. And the biggest
1 minute
part is the drug part. I spent 2 appointments this morning, literally an hour, explaining how it works, and because it's very complicated.
Well, I think I just think it's hard for people to believe. It's because the government's taking care of us. They're going to be nice. They're not going to do anything that will hurt me. But I just think it's part of kind of like opening your eyes and saying, they don't treat you right with Social Security. They don't do appropriate raises with Social Security. There's problems with the system. How can we depend on that? And we are going to take a really quick break. But when we come back, I really want to talk about, what are these options that are available? I mean, what does it really take to get into permanent, and what advantage is there to being in a permanent Medicare plan rather than this, switching back and forth plan? You're listening to The Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush and Jim Robeson, the Medicare answer guy. Back in a minute.
You don't need to know everything. You just need to know where to find answers you can trust when you need them. Welcome to The Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush. We're here to help you build, protect, and transfer everything you've worked hard for with expert estate planning, trust administration, inheritance, and probate. Call Gary and the team at gqlaw.com. 855-500-TRUST.
You're saving and investing for the future, and that's good. Have you ever stopped to think, where does my money actually go? This is Faith-Based Investing with Anthony Wright.
Most Christian families don't understand this one thing. The money that you're saving for retirement helps fund the abortion industry as well as other liberal anti-family causes. It's the sad, dirty little secret of American investing world. And here's the good news, though. You probably also didn't know that just a few minutes of your time, and we'll screen and clean your investments for you. There's no cost, no obligation. Learn the truth about your own investment mix. Then the choice is yours. Remember, the word says when God's money is in the hands of the righteous, the people rejoice. Well, we also are fiduciary investment advisor representatives. That means that our firm makes a pledge to always act in your best interest. Go to BibleSafeInvesting.com. Download a free copy of my book, Faith-Based Investing, or call me at 931-RETIRED. And please don't forget, listen to Faith-Based Investing this weekend right here on Family Talk.
Gary, your team at GQ Law are experts at solving IRS and state tax problems. Talk about that.
When people have a tax problem, it tends to really stress them out. And one of the things we've been able to do is figure out how to resolve tax problems. One thing we might be doing is setting up a payment plan or getting a collection delay, maybe getting a determination that the person shouldn't have to pay the taxes at all. We do offers and compromise. We do audit reconsiderations. And one of the things that's a really powerful tool that some people don't recognize is sometimes bankruptcy can be used to actually eliminate taxes when there's certain conditions of the code that are met. So we can do all kinds of things. After we analyze your situation, we can figure out what's available, discuss your options, and figure out which ones to implement, what it's going to cost, how long it's going to take. And we can get people out from under all kinds of tax problems so they can sleep again. That's our goal.
Request your free initial consultation. GQLaw.com, 855-500-TRUST, GQLaw.com.
Who will you trust with the biggest financial decision of your lifetime? If you're planning to buy or sell a home in San Diego County, do what I do and work with the true San Diego real estate experts. Ken Pecos and the Pecos Group helped me and my family. They can help you. This is Gary Quackenbush of The Word on Wealth. You hear Ken every week here on The Word on Wealth. He's our expert. He's got integrity, exceptional service, deep knowledge of the San Diego, Coronado, and South Bay regions. These are just some of the reasons that Ken Pecos has completed hundreds of transactions. He manages a powerful team of professionals at the Pecos Group. From single-family attached homes to luxury high-value waterfront properties to apartment buildings, Ken Pecos is ready to help you avoid problems and costly mistakes. Learn more online at kenpecos.com. That's Ken Pecos, Pecus.com. Or call 619-977-8419.
DRE number 010566969, brokered by eXp Realty.
You're not alone. Ask for the legal help you need. Call Gary and the team at GQ Law, 855-500-TRUST. Or go online and download Gary's free ebooks and videos. Read Gary's blogs. Call or click to request your free consultation or to talk with a member of the GQ team. That's GQLaw.com, 855-500-TRUST.
All right, we've got lines open for you to call and ask Jim Robeson, the Medicare Answer Guy, questions right now on the air. The number is 888-344-1170, 888-344-1170. Call and ask Jim your Medicare question. You can do it right now. We've got him here right. We're going to be zooming along with Jim here quickly. We're talking about the Medicare permanent insurance as opposed to temporary insurance. And I've asked Jim to explain to us what is the big difference between the permanent and the temporary insurance, because he is finding now that we are in the open enrollment period or the annual enrollment period that he's finding that 40% of the people really don't have any brokers. They really don't have any help, and they really don't know what they're asking. They don't know what they're looking for. So Jim, we've got you here to help explain advantages, disadvantages of the permanent versus temporary.
So a temporary Medicare Advantage plan is called that. We call it that because it's subsidized by the government, which means if the subsidies start to level out, drop, whatever, every year the insurance company has to make a decision. Do we raise the premiums, raise the copays? Now, what we're seeing with Scripps Clinic and Scripps Coastal, they have determined that they cannot continue to provide service to over 30,000 people in San Diego because there's not enough money in the subsidy for them to run their business. So they're no longer going to be in the Medicare Advantage world. That's typical of a Medicare Advantage plan. Every September, you'll get an annual notice of change saying if things are going to change. And I really think in the future, there's going to be a lot more of these changes. A permanent Medicare supplement plan is not subsidized by the government. You pay a premium to an insurance company, and they end up paying all of your bills in and out of the hospital. So every year, your plan stays the same. The benefits are the same. The premium goes up a little bit, but you know for a fact that next year, your medical group, your doctor is not going to write you a letter. The insurance company is not going to write you a letter and say, sorry, your doctors are no longer in your network. A Medicare supplement plan has no networks. It works completely different than a Medicare Advantage plan. A Medicare supplement, we call it a permanent plan because it doesn't change. You can go to any doctor, any hospital, any clinic, any specialist, anywhere in the United States without a referral or pre-authorization. If you go in the hospital, they're going to bill Medicare and Medicare is going to pay. Then they're going to bill your insurance company and they're going to pay your 20% portion, and you'll never pay anything in a hospital. Outside of the hospital, it works the same way. There is a one-time annual deductible. Next year, it's $240. You pay that one time, and all of your bills will be paid. As long as Medicare covers it, the insurance company is required to pay your portion. What I'm finding that once people understand that, they can take a deep breath and relax, knowing that they can go anywhere they want to. If their doctors in the beauty now, Gary, is that these Medicare supplement permanent plans are the only ones that Scripps Clinic is going to accept. So the people that I'm talking to, they have to stay with their Scripps doctor. And they finally realize that it's the permanent solution to their Medicare and medical issues in the future. Now, it's tough getting over a zero premium for years and years and years, when now you're looking at $200, $250, in some cases higher of a premium. But you have to ask yourself, am I willing to pay a little bit more to have a Cadillac plan where I can go anywhere I want to and pretty much 100% of my bills are going to be paid?
So, Jim,
and many of the people that I talk to have never heard about that.
that's because it's not advertised. It's just not. The whole thing is the Medicare Advantage. I mean, that's all I'm hearing. I mean, because I'm coming up on that, and that's all I'm hearing is Medicare Advantage, Medicare Advantage. And that's if I counted the amount of, communications that I get regarding it, all I'm hearing about is the Medicare Advantage, and this is what it's going to do, and this is what it is. And that's a little frustrating for me, because the only way to figure out if there is another option is I'm going to have to go, listen to this show, look in other resources, and find out about these, the Medicare supplement plans. So my question with the supplement plan, when people, this is going to be, you're over 65, you apply for Medicare, and then the supplement plan, we talk to you. So what does that look like if I go to you and say, okay, Jim, what are my options for supplement plans? Are there a whole bunch of supplement plans? Is it like this big, menu of I can pay anywhere from $100 to $1,000 a month, or how does that work?
Well, all supplement plans, the benefits are standardized.
Okay.
But if you're already on Medicare and have been on Medicare for at least 12 months and want to go from a Medicare Advantage to a supplement plan, traditionally, you're going to have to answer about 40 health questions. And for many people, that's not going to work, and they'll be denied. There are companies, one here in California, that has an underwriting holiday. They're not going to ask those questions. But there's a two-step process. If you're already on a Medicare Advantage plan, and you want to go to a supplement, the first thing you need to do is apply for a prescription drug plan, because supplements don't cover meds. So you apply for a standalone drug plan. You get approved for a January 1st effective date. That will automatically cancel your Medicare Advantage plan the last day in December. And with that termination letter, we submit that along with your application to the insurance company, and they issue the new supplement plan effective January 1st, guaranteed issue. And so you transition off your Medicare Advantage HMO plan to a Medicare supplement and a prescription drug plan January 1st with a deep sigh of relief.
Wow, that's fascinating, because then you're not having to worry about whether you're going to be denied in an application or anything. So does that work for if I've been on Medicare for over a year and now I decide I want to switch to a supplement permanent plan? Then that's when I can do this that you're talking about, apply for the prescription drug plan.
Right, during open enrollment. Now, the underwriting holiday isn't guaranteed. They have it sometimes, they don't have it sometimes. So there's this window of opportunity that that we have. Now, I personally have told people who are interested, we need to get your prescription drug plan issued by November 15th, so that it gives the insurance company time to send you, depending on what insurance company you're on, a termination letter, and then we submit it to the insurance company. We don't want to wait until December 7th to apply for a prescription drug plan, because if you don't apply for a standalone prescription drug plan by December 7th, this doesn't work. So if our listeners are interested, we need to have that conversation to get the ball rolling.
Okay, and to do that, the simplest way is go to themedicareanswerguide.com. To get an appointment with you, we go to the contact link and we can get on your calendar. That's an easy way to do it, right?
That's it.
Okay, themedicareanswerguide.com. Go under the contact link or the contact tab, and then that'll get you, and you can get an appointment on Jim's calendar to talk about this. So that's the November 15th. So we're really not saying December 7th, because that's when the annual enrollment period ends. We need to get it done sooner. So that's action item number one. You guys, we got 16 days to get that done. Get on Jim's calendar, go to themedicareanswerguide.com and get on his calendar. It's the easiest way. He's got a lot going on right now because of the annual enrollment period, and because 40,000 people in this area need to somehow get their insurance straightened out. So get on Jim's calendar, and then you can talk about coming up with the permanent plan rather than the temporary change in the middle of your treatment plan, which I hate that.
Yeah. And Gary, I'm not suggesting one or the other, because I have lots of people calling and say, hey, I can't, I have to change my doctor to help me find a different plan, a different Medicare Advantage plan. And I will. But some who have the financial means want a permanent plan. That's the road that they go. So I can help in both areas. The point I'm trying to make is there are 40% of the people out there that are calling me don't have a broker and are literally stuck. And now that the word has gotten out, these 30,000 people are calling member services. You're waiting a half an hour on the line. And one final thought. Several people have called and said, I'm on a Medicare retiree plan and on an HMO plan, and they've told me that I can't see my script.
1 minute.
Now, what do I do? Because they've never been told about a Medicare supplement plan. So it's all over the board. We'll help you if you want to stay on an Advantage plan or if you want to go to a permanent plan.
But either way, you've got to get somebody to help you out with this, because this is crazy. It's very difficult. This has to do with your health and your health care. There's these deadlines, the annual enrollment period, the open enrollment period, all these different deadlines and things that we're not used to seeing. You guys, You need to get a broker. My absolute recommendation is Jim Robeson, the Medicare Answer Guy. Get on his calendar, themedicareanswerguy.com. Jim, I'm going to ask you, and I know we're coming up on a really quick break. Can you stay for another portion so I can ask you some questions? Because I know you have some, I want you to tell some stories on kind of some success stories on this stuff, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
That's okay. All right. You're listening to Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush and Jim Robeson. To get a call into Jim right now, it's 888-344-1170.
This is the Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Gary's here to give you peace of mind with expert estate planning, trust administration, inheritance, and probate. Call Gary to build, protect, and transfer your wealth. 855-500-TRUST. GQlaw.com.
Have today's economic conditions and high inflation made it difficult for you in retirement? Hi, I'm Shane Sletter, the mortgage advisor on the Word on Wealth. You hear me with Gary Quackenbush, answering your questions every Tuesday at 2 p.m. For over 20 years in San Diego, I've specialized in home financing solutions for seniors as they get older and their families. If you qualify, a reverse mortgage allows you to convert part of your home equity into either a lump sum, line of credit, or much needed monthly income. You're insured and protected against ever owing more than the value of your home. And you don't have to sell your home, give up title, or get new conventional mortgage financing with monthly payments. The program is designed to make it easier for seniors to qualify. I will walk you through every step of the process. To receive a free reverse mortgage guide by mail, text REVERSE to 858-683-1716, or give me a call on my direct number, 858-683-1716.
Licensed with the state of California. NMLS ID number 239958. DRE number 01174642.
Outreach, the Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Call or click to request your free initial consultation or to talk with a member of the team. Call Gary at 855-500-TRUST. GQlaw.com.
All right. So good to have you here. We have got the Medicare Answer Guy. We extended his time with us today because there are just too many questions that need to be answered. Jim Robeson's expertise is in the area of Medicare and getting you signed up, getting you switched over to new and more appropriate plans. And to get on his calendar, you go to themedicareanswerguy.com and you go into the tab that says contact and you can get on Jim's calendar. It's really easy to do. That gets you the appointment, the initial consultation where you can ask about options that are available to you. Jim, I appreciate you spending this extra time with us today. And I just know that there's so much going on now when we're in the annual enrollment period, and you're a super busy guy, and I appreciate you taking this extra time. I wanted you to, if you could share just some examples of some things you've been seeing, especially during this annual enrollment period, some stories or some examples of what successes you've had.
Yeah, and thank you for that, Gary. I did have a conversation with a couple this morning who they were referred by a client, and both of them have been on a retiree Medicare health plan. He worked for a large company, and when it came time to retire, 4, 5, 6 years ago, it was just convenient that they could, like every year, they would just sign up, check off a box, and everything was fine. So it comes time to retire, they have a Medicare retiree plan. Now, all companies don't offer this. Typically, it's the large ones. So they were on a Medicare Advantage HMO plan through their employer, which includes prescription drugs. And initially, it was pretty easy. But every year, after about 12 months, he forgot kind of what he had. Now, this particular couple were paying over $500 a month for this plan, well over. And now they get this letter from the insurance company saying, you no longer will be able to see your script clinic doctor effective January 1st, 2024. Well, they thought, well, who do we call? Well, when you're on a retiree plan, you don't call HR because you're retired. You call the administrator of the plan, who happens to be anywhere in the United States. And for the most part, doesn't happen always, you're not going to get a whole lot of clear communication on exactly what's going on. So we spent literally an hour asking questions, trying to understand their retiree plan, how much they're paying, and they had never heard of a Medicare supplement permanent plan. So I explained that to them, and it made sense because both of them were seeing doctors, specialists, had prescription drugs, and were in the process of moving them off the retiree plan onto a Medicare supplement plan. But it took some time to educate, to go back to the basics, and that's what I do, Gary. We go back to the basics to understand when you got your red, white, and blue card. If you had done nothing without any supplement or advantage plan, you could have gone to any doctor, any hospital, any clinic, anywhere in the United States without a referral or pre-authorization. The problem is, if that's all you had, you would owe 20% of the bill. So most people supplement that 20%. And like you've indicated, when you see advertisements on the TV and hear it in the radio, or go to an insurance company, et cetera, they're typically not going to explain to you the Medicare supplement, but we do. And as I mentioned before, in order to facilitate and use this underwriting holiday, you've got to enroll in a prescription drug plan first. And that's the most complicated part. And so I ask people, send me the names of your meds, how much you take, how often. We'll research the best prescription drug plan out there, and there's over 30 of them. And probably for the first time in their Medicare history, they fully understand how prescription drugs work. And I have to tell them, prescription drugs in the Medicare world are not regulated. And prescription drug standalone plans that go with supplement plans work a little bit differently than your Medicare Advantage plan. So there's a lot of education that goes on. But as I indicated earlier, we need to get this done sooner than later, and it's got to be done because we're getting into the holidays. And when the holidays happen, everything slows down.
Okay, so
So that's the story.
now
Go
that and the thing about that, I guess that, that it's most. I wish I wasn't coming up on this on myself because I don't like to think about this stuff as like, oh, good, I'm not there yet. I don't think about Medicare. I'm going like, oh my gosh, it's like literally around the corner. So the prescription plan, that's part of what we contact you about and say, hey, Jim, here's what's going on. I need to talk about prescription plans that are available. And you help sort through that and sign up for the prescription Medicare plans.
Right. So if somebody wants a Medicare supplement plan, whether you're new to 65 and never been on Medicare, or you want to switch, from an Advantage plan to a Medicare supplement, it's absolutely essential to understand and get the right drug plan. Because this couple, I ran 2 quotes, and she had a lot of meds. One was for $15, and her out-of-pocket cost was about $1,000. The other was for 40 cents a month. But her out-of-pocket cost on that plan was $3,000. And I'm thinking, they're probably going, well, how does that work? Well, it's very confusing, and we don't have enough time on the radio, but that's what we do, is to try to understand how that works. You would think, I'll just go with the 40-cent plan. Well, you're going to pay twice as much on your drugs because that's how they design it. But that's the confusing part of Medicare. But it's got to be understood, because if your drugs are not covered on a certain plan, then you're locked in for 12 months. You can't change your plan until next year.
So that we've got to get done by
little
November
extra time.
15th, right? So go online, get an appointment with Jim, talk about it. That doesn't give a lot of time. November 15th is going to be the key there. The annual enrollment period is till December 7th, December 7th. But we got to get on this earlier because you got to make sure everything is set up by that time.
Right. You don't want to be the first week in December, and not, if you want to make this change and not have your prescription drug plan approved, because it's going to take a couple of weeks to get your Medicare supplement plan approved. And you don't want to be December 31st without an ID card. You want it as soon as possible. So we can get it done for you, but we need to talk first.
Okay. The MedicareAnswerGuy.com. All right. I'm going to say that 100 more times because I really want you guys to be successful in this. I don't like when I get calls and they say, so what were you talking about? A couple months ago, I heard you on the radio and we were talking about Medicare and there was some deadline, and what was it? And I go, well, it was 2 months ago. You missed the deadline. So let's not do that. Let's call Jim, get yourself set up, find out what your options are. He's not necessarily going to say, you got to switch, but he's going to give you the options available. That's the kind of people that we have here on the Word on Wealth. All of our people are option available, explain, educate, and help you find what is the best way to manage your stuff. And Jim is the one that is our Medicare man. The MedicareAnswerGuy.com. Get your, just get in with him, get on his calendar. You can call. He's got a number, 858-935-9120. But it's easier to go and do the contact through the MedicareAnswerGuy.com. And now it's easier to get on his calendar because this guy's busy. He's good. He helps hundreds of people. And we want you to be on his radar so that Jim can help you walk through the Medicare maze with the 30-foot high hedges and the little narrow passages, because that's Medicare. It is. And the hedges move. That's right. Lots of thorns. And the hedges move, by the way. It's kind of like a Harry Potter thing. So that's just
there
crazy.
You go.
Very crazy. Well, Jim, thanks for being and staying the extra time with me today. I just really, I wanted to make sure that we got our message across. I just really appreciate it. And I do not consider you old. I consider you my friend. And I know you're in terrific physical shape. And I hope everybody can stay that way. Just kind of
1 minute.
Watch what you do, watch your diet, make sure you are exercising regularly and doing all those things so that as you do get your Medicare supplement plan put together, it's going to be something where it is there as insurance and as protection, and you're going to be healthy and happy for the rest of your life. This has been Gary Quackenbush and Jim Robeson, the Word on Wealth with the Medicare Answer Guide. Jim, thank you so much for being on the show with us today.
Thanks, Gary. Have a great weekend.
All right, I will. All right, you guys, for the rest of the week, what we've got, we're going to finish me. I'll be on right to the top of the hour. If you got questions for me, it's 888-344-1170. Tomorrow on the show, we are going to have Shane Sletter. He talks about mortgages, reverse mortgages. I had some great questions for him, some conversations I've had really recently about that very topic. And we'll be back in just a moment when we come back.
You don't need to know everything. You just need to know where to find answers you can trust when you need them. Welcome to the Word on Well with Gary Quackenbush. We are here to help you build, protect, and transfer everything you've worked hard for with expert estate planning, trust administration, inheritance, and probate. Call Gary and the team at gqlaw.com. 855-500-TRUST.
Gary, how do you and your team help our listeners avoid probate?
Well, first of all, probate is a process that involves attorneys, judges, and sometimes contesting parties. And so we try to avoid probate at pretty much all costs. The way we do that is setting up living trusts, setting up properly documented wills, putting the property like houses, cars, bank accounts in that trust so that it avoids probate. Probate is only necessary if the estate plan isn't set up quite right. So we help them get it set up right. And mainly that's done through a properly created living trust.
Call Gary and the team at GQ Law, 855-500-TRUST, or go online and download Gary's free ebooks and videos. Read Gary's blogs. Call or click to request your free initial consultation. That's gqlaw.com, 855-500-TRUST.
The impact.
You're not alone. Ask for the legal help you need. Call Gary and the team at GQ Law, 855-500-TRUST, or go online and download Gary's free ebooks and videos. Read Gary's blogs. Call or click to request your free consultation or to talk with a member of the GQ team. That's gqlaw.com, 855-500-TRUST.
All right. Welcome to the Word on Wealth. Hey, I've had a lot of questions come up lately. I review a lot of trusts. You know that as an estate planning attorney, I offer free trust review if your trust is several years old. I mean, if you got it in the last 2 or 3 years, if you don't know if changes that you want to make on it, like you already know you want to change a successor trustee or a beneficiary or something like that. You know, if it's only a couple of years old, 2 or 3 years old, that's really not. You don't need to get it looked at unless you don't trust it. Okay. If you don't trust your trust because you don't trust how it was put together, or if you did it yourself, let's review it. I'm happy to do that on older trusts because I want to make sure that the trust is going to do what you want it to do. And it has the people in there that's going to manage your money if you're incapacitated or deceased, and that the money's going to go where you want it to go at the pace that you want it to go. But what I've been seeing a lot lately is wife passes away, husband comes in, and this is, 5, 6, 7 years after wife passes away, and I review their trust, and it's an AB trust. So an AB trust requires that on the first death that you do some things. It's either going to be you have to analyze whether it's appropriate to set up the B trust or not. Now, most of the trusts I've been seeing that are set up as AB trusts are these old trusts that were done back in 1995, 2000. The laws went through some huge changes after 2000, 2005, 6, 7, 8, 9, all the way through there. The laws, the tax or the trust laws kept changing quite a bit. So if you have a trust that's like 1995 or 2000, 2004, I mean, those are really old in my opinion, and they need to be looked at. I really want you to simplify your trust so that when your kids have to deal with it, it's not already messed up. By that, I mean is this classic example where if you look at your trust and it says, on the first death, the trustee shall, that's a really big warning sign to you. If your trust on there requires that the successor trustee does something on the first death, and this is like a husband and wife trust, that's your sign that you probably have an AB trust or ABC, which means the trust is going to be required to be divided or split on the first death. If you don't do the division or split on the first death, then there might be some serious legal consequences. It might be a tax issue. It might be a beneficiary issue. It might be, it could be a number of different things. But in an imperfect world, you don't want an AB trust unless you have to have an AB trust. I mean, to have one just for the sake of having one because you think, well, AB trust, that covers me under all circumstances, not true. AB trusts make things complicated. And by that, I mean, when somebody comes in, says, my husband died, 5 years ago, and, I wanted, I want to look at this trust, and I look at it and I say, well, what do you want to do with it? Well, we want to change the beneficiaries. We want to move things around. I want to give some money to charity. And I don't like the plan. Well, if it's an AB trust, I got to look at the reason why it's an AB trust. And what I find is many times it's because it was a blended family. Husband and wife didn't share the children. Okay. And so if you now try to go and change your AB trust, like to amend it, take all the property out, now give it all to your kids and not to your ex-spouse, your deceased spouse's children, that's going to be a problem. Because sometimes the purpose of the AB trust is to make it so that when the first person passes away, at least their share of the trust will pass to their children. It may not pass to their children until the second spouse dies, but at least it will pass to their children. Okay. Because an AB trust locks up half of the money and makes it so the survivor can only basically spend about half of the trust. And when they run out of money, then they can start to dip into the B trust, but they can't do it at the same pace. Okay, so AB trust for blended families, that makes sense. AB trust without a blended family makes no sense at all to me. If the money is going to specific children and you guys have 3 kids between the two of you or whatever, then AB trusts, we don't use them anymore unless your trusts are huge. And I mean, unless you're approaching the $20 million mark. If you're a single person and your estate is approaching the 10 to, let's see, it would be the 12 to $15 million mark, then yeah, we got to talk about doing some type of another trust. It's not going to be a straight up AB trust because it's not for the same reason. But I prefer to simplify trusts rather than overly complicate them. I know a lot of attorney friends of mine that are in the same industry that feel the same way. We're overcomplicating trusts. We're making them so they're too complicated. There's too many exceptions and rules, and there's just too much in them where we're not doing a good job after death of administering and doing the distribution of assets after death. So I like to review trusts, determine whether they should be simplified, and if so, then we simplify. And a lot of times we're just getting rid of ABs. Once I talk through it and I read through the trust and go, okay, here's the reason you have the AB. 90% of the time people are saying that's garbage. I don't need that. It's overly complicated. And it is. If there's an AB, one person dies, years later, the second person dies. Now we've got issues of, did that make a difference? Is it affecting a blended family? Is it affecting some child because the AB trust wasn't set up properly? And that just depends. So if if you're doing an AP trust, or if you have one and you think, oh, whatever, I don't care that it's that complicated. I mean, someday I'm going to be super wealthy and I'm going to need an AB trust. Okay, fair enough. But I think we need to see, is that a good idea to say, well, I don't need one now, but I may need one in 10 years or 20 years when my ship comes in. I kind of don't like to look that far ahead because trusts are amendable. If your wealth is going to be growing, and you're worried about it becoming too big for your trust in 10 years, well, the only way it's going to get there is because you're going to be alive making it get there. I mean, if you've died in the interim and you didn't hit that mark, then it's not going to grow necessarily, right? So let's get your trust simplified so that it's easier to manage and administer without getting into these, some of these trusts I'm looking at it's like, my gosh, I need to drink a monster drink to keep myself awake while I'm reading them, because they go on for 100, 150 pages, and it's like so unnecessary. Now, sometimes if you're getting where you have these huge big estates or super complicated distributions, I get it. Sometimes those we have to go and make a fancy trust. But for most of us, if you're not looking at a very complicated distribution, if you're not looking at, having, $10 to $20 million net, then just complicated, it's just overcomplicated. And once you pass away, it just makes a big mess. So I'm happy to review trusts and see if we need to reduce the complication in things. That's been kind of the trend for my clients, is some people just say, no, I'm fine with that. And I look at it and they go, yeah, it'll work, but it's just messy and complicated. And a lot of people say, well, I don't want messy. I don't want complicated. I was my mom's trustee, and it was so much work. And it was just, the more complicated, the worse it was. So simplify, reduce, make sure the trust does what you want it to do. That's what we're doing with the trust review. If you do not have an estate plan, I don't know why you wouldn't. I know actually why, because it costs money, because it takes time, because it requires thought. But because of all of those things, the time and the thought about it, that's why you do an estate plan. You're planning ahead. It's a plan. It's this thing that you set up so that in the event of your incapacity, which is a 70% chance, or in the event of your death, which is 100% chance, then it's going to be easier to sort out, because your surviving spouse will have an easier time of it. There'll be a lot less delays in accessing money. And then once you and your spouse have both passed away, the transfer to kids is a lot easier, because they're just a lot. It makes it so that you've got the trust in there, and the transfer to your kids is a lot easier. It makes it so you don't have to go through the probate courts, which take a very, very long time. I mean, we are super good at probate, but it takes 9 months at the minimum. I mean, that's about as fast as you can possibly go. And that's if you hit every single deadline and got the courts, the shortest calendar possible. But typically with estate plans, you're looking more like, if you're going through probate, if the estate plan's not set up right, you'll be in probate and you'll be doing a year and a half, 2 years. That's not unheard of. The courts don't start getting upset until, a year and a half or 2 years has passed, because there's a lot of technicalities, a lot of paperwork, a lot of things that have to be done perfectly, and perfect in a world where there's deceased people and assets that we don't even know exist from, an online account or from something came out of the woodwork. All of that we end up throwing in probate. If you avoid probate, kudos. That's terrific, because you can do that if your estate plan is set up right and funded right. Got to make sure your house is in there, your bank accounts are in there, cars in there. Do as much as you can to get all of your property in that estate. Then, if you became incapacitated, you have somebody already assigned to take care of your money. There you go. You don't even need to have a power of attorney necessarily. You already have it set up, so you know who it is. And not only do you know who it is, you know how they're going to do it, because they are controlled by the successor trustee instructions in your trust. So they legally can't go wild, and they have to obey what it says in their in their instructions as a trustee. So trustees are great to have. It's better than doing a power of attorney. Power of attorneys are kind of unlimited without a lot of control or any control. And the successor trustee is limited and it has the controls written right in that trust document.
1 minute.
If you want help and you do not have your favorite estate planning attorney, I'm happy to be that one for you. 855-500-TRUST, 855-500-TRUST. Rest of the week, tomorrow. Okay, Tuesday, we got Shane Sletter, and that's going to be anything to do with mortgages and reverse mortgages. And that's a really important thing to listen up on. I got some questions for Shane Sletter tomorrow. And then we have Ken Pecos on Wednesday, Anthony Wright, Money Guy on Thursday, and we got special treat for you on Friday coming up on Finding Joy Friday, right here on the Word on Wealth. All right, talk to you tomorrow. Everybody have a great rest of your day, right here on the Word on Wealth.
Tell a friend about the Word on Wealth, featured since 1995. With financial solutions attorney Gary Quackenbush, an expert in estate planning, wills and trusts, and tax problem solving. Gary is past president of the California Society of Tax Consultants. Reach out to us. The Word on Wealth team of financial experts is here to answer your questions and help preserve your family's financial future. The information you hear on the Word on Wealth is for general information purposes only. This program discusses general financial and legal topics. Seek legal advice from a competent lawyer for your individual legal needs. The opinions expressed here do not necessarily represent